Happy Thursday, everybody. It's GameFace, Sifted Games' flagship show, right here on Twitch, live into your browser or mobile phone technology.
Oh, your Xbox One.
Actually, oh yeah, you're right. People can watch it on their consoles.
Wow. Future is now, man.
It has been a massive week for Sifted. The site went live as planned on Monday for all you guys who watch the live stream or who watch it on YouTube. And then Tuesday for everybody else. Things have been going great. I was actually going to mention this right before you walked out a second ago, is over 3 days, our moderators have had to delete 3 comments. 3. So that's the type of people who are coming to Sifted. The conversations have been amazing. Everybody's very mature.
And there's been more than like 3 comments.
Yeah.
Just to clarify that, there have been at least 20
There's
comments.
been at least 4 comments, and we only had to delete 3 of them. But seriously, if you think about that, there's like thousands of people on the site right now using it, and 3 total comments in 3 days have been deleted. So,
and I'm still pissed they deleted my comments.
Honestly, that's a testament to you guys. You know, you guys are just, you're doing a great job. Like, you guys have been very helpful as well. We're kind of looking at this free 2 weeks as like the open beta for the site. We did the closed beta with just a few people. And so there's still some things we're working on. And if you guys go to that thread on the site, if you click that image at the top of the homepage, if you guys are having any issues with the site, you can always go there and kind of let us know about them. Or you can always send issues to beta@sifted.net.
Or if you want to DM me on Twitter, I'll give you Shane's home phone.
No, please don't. To be honest, I think I would be okay with that. Like, having interacted...
You hear to hear.
Seriously, though, having interacted with all the people on Sifted right now, I would have no problem with any of those people having my contact information.
There's good people out there. They're obviously discerning, smart individuals because they tune into this show.
Yeah, for sure.
So yes, I mean it's all good. But should we get on with the actual Big Six?
Yeah, we probably should.
All right then, roll credits. Although they're not really credits, are they?
No, it's called a bump in the TV business. The Big Six bump. Yeah. So today, Marcus, the game you've been waiting your whole life for, big previews rolling out today for Batman Arkham Knight. And Marcus, they haven't all been glowing. Some of these previews have been pretty critical. And here's the thing, too. They're previews. And typically how it works is you don't really criticize games in the previews because you're working under the assumption that they could fix any issues that may be present. And honestly, it's true. Like there's still time with the game to fix things. Big themes, story, plot, probably not. But bugs, maybe little niggling issues, yeah, you can fix that stuff. But the journalists have really been pulling no punches on this game, and probably half of the previews that I've read for it haven't been all that encouraging. Like, they're not saying it's a bad game, but they're saying that it doesn't really feel like a Batman game, that it's almost kind of turned into this generic open-world action game that doesn't feel enough like Batman. What do you think about that, Marcus? One, how do you feel about journalists kind of sharing their opinion on an unfinished game the way they have been? And 2, how do you feel about the fact that they're saying maybe this Batman isn't all it's cracked up to be?
I don't have a problem with people being honest during a preview. I actually think that's kind of refreshing.
Well,
to be honest with you, because yes, for the longest time, previews have been, it's the unwritten rule is you be nice to us in previews, and because, you can't be critical because it's a work in progress. Well, if you want to show a work in progress, you should be able to discuss, well, this feels like a work in progress. So I have no problem with that at all. Have I read any of these previews? Have I? Fuck. Why? Because I'm on a blackout on Arkham. I am not going to read anything until the reviews start to hit. And, I will look at a couple of reviews, maybe 2 or 3, get a general feel for it, and then, shut down again and go and experience the game for myself. Again, this is kind of ironic coming from an XPR guy who made his bread and butter on getting previews and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm over the whole preview system. I think, it's flawed. You look at it, I mean, how often does somebody go in and do a 10-page fucking preview on a new movie or a new album or a new car? We're the only industry that really does that.
Well, new cars they do. I mean, there are websites out there that when they get to test drive a car, they will write up like 10,000 words on that car.
Yeah, well,
not all of them, but some of them do.
But not to the same extent that every game gets fucking previewed out the yin yang. And like I said, I think it's because I've got to the stage in my life that I'm just kind of over it. I want, get a game announcement, a couple of trailers, go to review, and then let's see it from there and see how it goes from there. I'm just over the absolute need. And
the whole media cycle.
Batman Arkham Knight. I mean, you know how many trailers we've seen for it. It's beyond the pale. I know.
I could have run another trailer for that game for Trailer of the Week this week again. But we could have again because they literally put out a big trailer for that game every single week, and some weeks too.
It smacks of desperation. It really does. I mean, everybody knows the damn game is coming. It's the final entry for Rocksteady in their particular trilogy. We don't talk about the one that was done in Canada.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the game is coming. It's been delayed, so what? The sales are still going to be strong. It's a fucking Batman game. It's from a great studio. So yeah, see how it goes. But I have no issues with if we're going to have previews, be fucking honest. And the days of sugarcoating everything is ridiculous because...
Well, I don't think it was even that it was sugar-coated in the quote-unquote old days. It was just that you just gave the facts. At least that's how my guys, when I ran editorial at GT and other places, I never said make the game sound good or fluff it up. I just said stick to the facts, and maybe in the last paragraph, if there's one thing that you feel a little uneasy about, then maybe you can slide that into the last paragraph. But generally... I still don't really feel it's a good practice to really vilify a game based on preview code.
I mean, you basically don't. I'm not talking about ripping it to shreds. I'm talking about reporting on what's in front of you.
Yeah.
I'm not reporting on, well, we're going to fix this. Well, I'm sorry if it's in the build in front of me. It's like reviewing a game that was, that's been sent to you with, oh, well, we're going to change this on the day one patch. It's like, you haven't given me the day one.
Well, you never do that.
Well, so
you review what's on the disc.
Exactly. So you review what's on the disc, you preview what's on the hard drive in front of you. And that should be the status quo. That should be the rule that too many, websites forget about because they will spooge. So, yeah, I got no problems.
Look, as well as I do, you send out preview code and there's bugs in it that could crash the game. It happens all the time.
Well, to be fair, this wasn't sent out preview code. This was code that people played at the event last week or the week before. Mm-hmm. As any good PR people will always, and WB does have some really good PR people. They will control the environment. They will control it, and put the best version of the game out there, so that people come away from, the journalists come away and they only have positive things to write. So if there are some issues in the game, it'll be interesting to see where this code was and how it works. Maybe it was a backfire.
They weren't even mentioning bugs. Like, it was just the way the game is that they had issues with.
Yeah, and again, if it's a vertical slice, it's difficult to judge because you may have three different sections from...
Some of these writers were kind of extrapolating that, like you said, vertical slice, or that little experience they were given. They were extrapolating across the entire game. And, that's the other part of it is, you get just this little piece of a game when you get these preview builds or you get to go to an event and play a game. You don't generally get to play the whole game where they just sit you down and say, okay, play for an hour, now stop at an hour. That's not how it works. There's, a one-level demo. And so... I don't know, to try to pass a judgment on a game or even be concerned, honestly, about a game based upon a little piece that you played, I don't feel like that's a good way to go about doing things. But...
Well, I think it's fine to air concerns. I mean, I played a vertical slice. This is what it covered. I have concerns based on X, Y, and Z. Going off and then saying the game will suck because of this or blah, 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 then you're into the realm of opinion. But as long as it is clearly... put out there as opinion, because let's face it, that's all these things are now. They're all opinion pieces. But yeah, I have faith in Rocksteady. They're one of the few gaming dev teams that I actually have faith in anymore.
This won't change you at all, your opinion of how you feel the game's going to be?
I haven't canceled my pre-order yet. I still, and this, again, one of the games I pre-ordered to get the cool Batmobile doodly. We'll see how it goes. If the reviews come through that week before, if the reviews don't hit until the day of launch, that will be a red flag.
Oh, yeah. I don't see that happening, though.
Well, you never know.
I don't think that it's a buggy game. I think it's just they're more concerned about the aesthetics of it. And maybe some of the people who are writing this are just huge Batman fans, and it's like, how are you ever going to please them? But... I don't know.
Well,
I just thought I was caught off guard by some of the previews.
Everybody has their own vision of what Batman should be. Some want the Frank Miller Batman. Some want the Chris Nolan Batman.
Yeah.
Some want the fucking campy 1960s style Batman. So everybody's got their own personal version. You can't please people all the time. But yeah, I'm holding off. Like I said, I've not checked out any of these previews, and I won't. I will wait. And let's see what happens in, 3 weeks, 2 weeks?
Yeah. The funny thing is that on Sifted, we curated a feature where a writer wrote that he felt that Arkham Knight was the best representation of Gotham ever in any medium. Any of the Batman movies, any of the Batman games. And then, literally 2 days later, these previews come out and people are saying, I don't feel like this feels like Batman. Well, it's pretty funny.
Again, like I said, there's so many different versions of Batman out there. I mean, the great thing is that when Arkham Asylum came out, Rocksteady took everybody by surprise.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And,
because there had never been even a decent Batman game before. Do you remember that old Kemco Batman game for the GameCube that everyone was all hyped for?
There was a decent game on the Spectrum for Batman, which was a 3D isometric game. That was kind of decent, but that was 1983, 84. But the point I'm going to make is Rocksteady came out and then everybody was playing catch up because basically they evolved the game.
Yeah.
No pun intended. And then Arkham City came out and it was bigger and it wasn't as good for me as Arkham Asylum. So it may be that Rocksteady hit their shocked everybody by doing X and they shot the load the first time round. So if this one is as good as Arkham City,
I'll be fine with that.
I'll be fine with that too.
Yeah.
If it reaches the heights for me that Arkham Asylum did, because Arkham Asylum did it so well, you were trapped.
Yeah,
you were trapped.
That's what I liked about. That's probably my favorite one still.
It was it just It was like reading a really good Batman graphic novel.
Yeah, it wasn't like all scattershot. Like it felt the open world just kind of. It made everything feel a little looser and...
Yeah, it took away from it, but we shall see.
And most people want the open world. They're like, before when we heard that a Batman game was going to be open world, everyone was like, oh my god, and me included. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like...
Well, you have to be careful what you wish for.
You just might get it.
So, moving on. Let's move on to something I have no interest in whatsoever. But I know a lot of you do, and I know Shane does, and I know a lot of people are saying nice things about this. So, and it's a Wii U game, so... Well done. Fantastico. I don't even know which camera I'm on. Oh, that one. Look at that. Yes, let's talk about Splatoon. Splatoon, the game I haven't played.
Yeah.
But I understand, Shane, you've played it.
I've been playing it extensively, yeah.
So, what do you think?
I think it's not what people think it is.
It's actually a cup of coffee.
Let me ask you this. What do you think Splatoon is?
It's a damning indictment of the fucking graffiti culture that all you young hooligans are running around throwing graffiti and water balloons full of paint on my yard. And no, isn't it basically a remake of that 1980s arcade classic Painter? No. Isn't that it? I mean, basically where you just sort of like, you have to fill in all the different, inside the lines and avoid the, the little things that will travel on the lines and kill you. Do you remember that game?
I do remember it, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Splatoon is basically a glorified version of that. See, look, there they even had the roly paint thing.
Yeah. See, I'm actually surprised that you would say that because I think most people, when they look at Splatoon, they think it's a third-person shooter. That's the first thing they say. It's like a multiplayer shooter, a third-person shooter. And what I would say after playing this game is that's really not what this game is at all. The single-player campaign in this game, to me, is actually a 3D platformer. It plays like a 3D platformer. All the abilities that you get with the paint, it's tied into like the level design for the single-player campaign. So you can see, like, you can travel really quickly, like go underneath the paint and travel. Well, you can go up walls and things like that. And they use that mechanic extensively in the campaign for platforming, essentially. So they'll have like a really tall, like, vertical wall, and you spray your paint up the wall, and you want to go up the wall. Well, the problem is they'll have an enemy on that wall that'll either, like, wipe the paint off, or it'll just keep you from being able to slide up it. So there's, like, all these puzzle elements that play into it, and it's really about getting from, like, point A to point B. It's really not about the combat. And then you go online in the multiplayer, and it's really not about combat either. In the multiplayer, it's about painting more of the level than the other team. That's the objective. It's not who gets the most kills. It's who, at the end of the time, when the time is up, who has painted the most amount of the level. And so killing people in it, or I don't know, it's probably even called killing in Splatoon, is actually like a really dumb strategy because you're wasting your time and your paint trying to knock other players out instead of painting the level. Like, the smarter thing to do, like, you can always tell if somebody has played the game or not because when a match starts, if the person just runs off in search of the other team, they have no idea what they're doing. A person who knows how to play Splatoon online, as soon as a match starts painting all over the floor because the enemy team, if they get on your paint, they get stuck in the paint and can't move very quickly. And then they're easy to kill as well. And when you get killed in this game, you get like a 3-second penalty before you respawn or whatever. There's just really no reason to kill the other team. And I think it's a big misconception about Splatoon. It's not like a deathmatch game. There is a deathmatch mode, but you cannot play that until you're level 10 in the multiplayer. And the leveling in this game is really slow and grindy. And it's been a huge pain in the butt because they didn't really set up a bunch of formal multiplayer sessions for the press. They're like, okay, we sent it out to you guys, and basically kind of left it to our own devices to like get the multiplayer stuff going, and there weren't that many people that had it. So it took a long time to get to level 10 before you even opened up the deathmatch mode. And you start playing it, it's nowhere near as fun as playing like the original one.
So obviously one of the big bugbears people have is that there's no voice comms.
Yeah, there is no voice communication.
How does that, I mean, if you have any sort of like team-related activity, how the fuck does that work?
It's hard, yeah. I mean, it's definitely missed. I mean, the whole thing feels a little archaic, to be honest with you. Like, Nintendo is still really far behind the curve with online. Like, the other thing, too, is that, like, you have to wait for a full game before you can play. And so you sit there, and it's really bad, obviously, when there aren't that many people online, and it's like a bunch of journalists hoping other journalists join. But even when it's out in the wild, you still are going to have to wait until the full complement of players joins the game before you can start the game. And if somebody jumps out, it sets that timer all over again. And if the timer expires before you get 8 people, you get booted out of the lobby, and you have to go and like rejoin the game and then go through the whole process all over again. So I would say lag-wise, though, it's great. Like I've really experienced like no lag playing in this game at all.
So let me get this straight. Nintendo have taken an arcade game from the 1980s, matched it with online protocols from the year
70s,
the year 2000, and are releasing a game in 2015.
2015, yeah. One thing I will say though is like, look, Nintendo is really good at gameplay and level design, and it does come through in this game. Like, it's very clever. When you first look at it, you're like, oh, you just spray paint everywhere, but like you get different weapons that do different things, and it is very clever how they build the levels around the different abilities that you get. And like as you get farther into the campaign, you really start to see some of the ingenuity that Nintendo typically has in its games. You start to see it in the game. But I don't think most people are going to buy this for the campaign. And in all honesty, the campaign is pretty forgettable. It's like you go to this hub world and you travel to this other part of the hub world, and you basically have to figure out how to get to the top of this thing, and then you go into the world. And
no offense to you, mate. But
there's no story. At all. There's no story.
Yeah, if you go online and look for Painter or Quicks, I think it was called over here in the US, and just maybe take some drugs first, and then you got Splatoon.
I don't know if I go that far.
But did you enjoy spraying your load all over the floor?
I did enjoy playing Splatoon. Would I recommend somebody pay full price for it? I would not, because it also started to wear thin for me pretty quickly. The campaign you can finish in probably 5 or 6 hours, maybe not even that. And the multiplayer, as with any multiplayer, your mileage may vary depending on how much it resonates with you. But I think a lot of people are going to buy this game thinking it's like a Gears of War type shooter, when in actuality it's really not.
Gears of Benjamin Moore.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting hung up on the aesthetics.
That's
I'm talking gameplay-wise.
Sorry.
But I would not recommend buying Splatoon. I would say wait until you can get it on a deal at some point on down the road and give it a spin. It has its moments, but it's not an amazing game.
Bear with us. We're just looking at some more footage from Splatoon.
No.
No,
we're ready to go on.
Let's move on then.
Okay. So E3 is coming up very soon in a few weeks, and obviously we want to start talking about E3 and start talking about the stuff that's going to happen there.
Which we will in a minute, but first of all, we're going to talk about Rockstar. Oh.
No, we're not. We're going to talk about E3 first.
We're going to talk about E3 first, are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to talk specifically. We're going to talk about Ubisoft, and we want to do like a little E3 preview for every major publisher that's having a press conference. And so Ubisoft, obviously their press conferences are pretty big every year. I mean, they generally get a big audience.
I've never been to one.
You never went to one?
I've been invited every year, but I don't go. I don't see the point.
There is very little reason to go.
I'm going to one third party this year, Bethesda.
Yeah.
Just because I want to see Fallout 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I really don't. I think that the third party, and we've had this argument or discussion every time we've talked about it, is basically just a jerk off session. Because look, first party, you got a Nintendo, you got a Microsoft, you got a Sony. All of those should be on a Monday. And I've said this every year, and this is the one time I'm going to say it again.
This is the one time.
With regards to this E3, because in 12 months' time, I'll say exactly the same thing again. Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony. Those are the first parties. Those are the ones who should have their press conferences on the Monday. They should get together, divvy up some time, almost like the NFL trade, the draft. And it's like, I'll give you X, Y, and Z if you give me this. And let's get it done like that. Everybody else, with the exception of Bethesda this year, because they've never done it before and they have Fallout 4 coming, I'm sure they do. Everybody else, just fuck off, stop wasting our time, and let the show open at a decent time on the Tuesday morning so we can all get through the 300 million fucking games that we need to look at and do our job and be able to come back and tell you our opinions on them. I am sick of seeing Square Enix and fucking Ubisoft and EA and Activision, because let's face it, they're showing the same shit every fucking year. And now's the stuff. And here we are now at the EA one where we're talking about FIFA, Madden, NFL, everything else. Oh, we're going to show you the videos that we just saw at the Xbox One conference, and they'll skip to Ubisoft where, oh look, here's whatever game that we're going to talk about that we just announced at the Sony press conference. And then we'll go to another third party who will say, well, we got nothing for Nintendo because they don't like third party. But yes,
I would say that I completely disagree with you on this, by the way, Marcus. I think the press conferences are fine. You have the choice of choosing whether you want to go to them or not. You have the choice of choosing whether you want to watch them or not. And I think I personally enjoy watching the press conferences, whether I'm there in person or whether I watch them online. And I think a lot of people that watch this show...
glorified sales video.
That's fine, though. I want to know about the games, dude.
I want to go see the games in action. I want to be able to get there.
Would you rather go to the show floor? And I mean, now E3 is like an amusement park. It's not like you can just walk up and check out games anymore. Like, you have to go and stand in a 4-hour line to see every freaking game. Like, I am fine.
When was the last time you stood in line?
I stood in line last year when I went. I'm not even lying. I totally stood in line. I did. I totally stood in line for a couple games. Like, and it sucks. And the people who go there that aren't in the press have to do that every freaking time. Like,
well, let me just clarify that E3 is a trade-only event for people who work in the media and in the retail sector.
But you know, and I know, and E3 knows, and the publishers know that that's all bullcrap.
So I'm sorry, if you're not supposed to be there and you have to line up, you shouldn't fucking be there in the first place.
Let me finish my point. My point was that even the people who are going to E3 and standing in those lines would prefer to watch like a controlled demo on their TV or on their computer screen.
Which every single fucking publisher puts up on the big jumbotrons above their booth every fucking day.
But you can't hear anything. It's like, and the monitors are all crappy looking. Like, I have no problem with the press conferences. You have the choice of whether you want to go or not. That's fine. If you don't want to go, don't go. If you don't want to watch, don't watch.
It's a monumental waste of time that we could use better by having more time on the show floor to be able to really, get some interesting time, get some time with the interesting games and not the usual suspects. But also on the Monday, if there's only 3 press conferences, they can all be done by about 3:00 in the afternoon, which means we can get down to the serious business of fucking drinking.
But think about this too, Marcus. Like, a lot of people watching this show, like, they don't go to E3 at all, and so. When do they get to see those demos? They have to wait until the show floor opens, and then all the press go out, and they come back with like all this shaky cam footage. Like, these people need to see these demos.
The demos are so universally bad at the third person press conferences. I mean, they're pretty shitty at the first person ones because you have this forced camaraderie, you have this forced fucking conversation.
All the banter and all that, I agree. It's total
that's all total garbage, and you never really get a full-on opinion. You may as well just have a fucking 3D interactive sales sheet in front of you.
Okay, so we're flying off the rails here because we're supposed to be talking about Ubisoft's lineup.
Well, they only
but maybe
have
the
4
problem
games.
is they don't have any.
They only have 4 fucking games.
That's why it says UB Illin at the bottom of the screen.
Indeed. Nice Run DMC shout out there. Yeah, I love that. But yes, let's look at their lineup.
Syndicate, which we've talked about at length already on the show.
Assassin's Creed Syndicate, blimey. Rainbow Six Siege,
which I think we're both pretty excited for. Watch Dogs 2, I'm guessing they're going to at least show a trailer for at the show.
Watch Dogs 2, this time we'll deliver the game we promised.
Yeah, and The Division, I'm sure we'll get another demo of The Division.
Yeah, as I just said, as I've tweeted out so many times, every time this game's been delayed, they should rename it Long Division.
Yeah.
It's just a long-ass fucking wait. But yeah, here's hoping that they have some interesting things up their sleeve.
What would you hope for? There's going to be a surprise or 2 or 3. What are you rooting for a surprise from UB?
I'm not.
Nothing?
I have nothing because unfortunately, and look, I have good friends who work at UB. Far Cry will probably get another. They'll probably get another Far Cry.
I don't think they'll show any Far Cry.
No, they'll probably announce it that it's coming sometime in the next 2 years. I've loved the last 2 Far Cries. I thought they were fantastic.
Yeah, they're fun.
I'd love to see a sequel to Blood Dragon. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah.
But Rainbow Six, what I've seen, I'm not enthused by. Watch Dogs 2, the first one left a very bad tastes, and honestly, another CGI demo would just send me to sleep. You look at what else there is. Okay, so there's going to be Just Dance 2016.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll show it again.
Who gives a shit? I know a lot of people.
What about like a new Splinter Cell? Would you be into that?
I don't know.
I mean, it's kind of time for them to show a new one.
I'd like to see a new Splinter Cell, but I'm rapidly losing faith in this particular company, in that they can't, with the odd exception, they can't break out of this sequel like this, which is more of the same with just a slap of paint on it, which is unfortunate because Ubisoft 5 years ago were really busting shit out left, right, and center.
Yeah.
They were absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, part of me would love to see a new Ghost Recon, but I'm terrified as to what they do with it, because that Rainbow Six, that Ghost Recon, that team that created that has been blown to the wind. Redstone still exists.
Does it really?
Redstone still exists in North Carolina, but I mean, they've gone from the house that Clancy built to
the house that Clancy sold.
The house that Clancy sold. That's now basically. I don't want to offend anybody there because they're good. They are good people and they bust ass. But I just think that Ubisoft is misusing the Clancy brand and is misusing Redstorm. I think Redstorm could really be evolving the shooter genre if they were allowed to let.
Well, you don't even know if the people that are there are the people that you worked with back
No,
then.
there's a few. There are a few who are, again, good people. But look, people ask for Beyond Good and Evil 2. But Beyond Good and Evil 1 was a critical darling, didn't really sell that
tanked,
well.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really fit into the Guillemot mode of titles that they want to see.
I don't think they'll show a Rayman because the last couple Raymans haven't done that great at retail, despite being released for literally every platform under the sun. So I don't really see anything coming from that.
Yeah.
New IP. Is it crazy for us to ask for new IP? I mean, look, they unleashed Assassin's Creed last gen, and it became an industry staple. Why can't they do it again?
Because they've not done much by Watch Dogs has pretty much been their only new IP ever since.
Yeah,
and look, somebody
will
will
probably
the Crew,
which was awful. Well, it was just mediocre.
I mean, honestly, the most fun Ubisoft games I've played over the last 3 years are Far Cry 3, Far Cry 4, Blood Dragon, and Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Yeah.
Now, if they decided to drop Assassin's Creed from Black Flag and put out a brand new fucking pirate game, that would be kind of exciting to me because...
So they're not going to announce that because they got a pimp syndicated E3.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If I've said this before, Black Flag was the best game, Assassin's Creed game that didn't need Assassin's Creed in it because it added nothing.
Yeah, it really didn't.
You could have just removed all the Assassins stuff and the Absurdo, and I know I mispronounced it, stuff on purpose,
and just call it R.
Just call it Black Flag.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, we need a couple of good fucking pirate games make it about not just one part of the world. Make it, the open seas and, Europe and there'd be so much awesomeness in that. But again, I just don't have the faith. What about you? What are you looking forward to from Ubisoft? I mean, I'm sorry, there's one more thing I'm looking forward to, and that's an hour's good sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, their pressers are notorious for being awkward. I mean, they had Aisha Tyler. She does a pretty good job.
Aisha Tyler is brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, Aisha Tyler, she mans up every year, or girls up, whatever you want to say. I don't want to be. But no, she's just brilliant. She is absolutely brilliant. She's better than Mr. Caffeine. She's better than Yves Guillemot. She's better than any other fucking presenter who comes on to do these presses.
What's the other guy's name? The host of The Soup? That
Joel,
did VGX the one year.
Joel McHale. Yeah. But yeah, Aisha Tyler's fucking awesome, and she's, of course, she's an archer, which is one of the best shows ever.
Yeah.
So yes, I love Aisha Tyler.
I mean, I think they will show at least. They have to show a new IP. They have to. They can't just keep like regurgitating all these franchises over
Shane,
and over.
If people did the shit that I said they had to, the games industry would be an awesome place. And if they don't listen to me, they're not going to listen to you, because I've got the accent.
I think they'll show at least one new franchise. They have to. You cannot get by E3 2015 with these 4 games. You can't do it.
Tom Clancy's Rainbow 7.
I wouldn't be surprised if we do end up seeing maybe even a Ghost Recon. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see another Splinter Cell either.
I'm just scared.
Yeah.
I'm frightened. I mean, seriously, with our E3 coverage, we'll watch that. They'll announce a new Ghost Recon. You'll cut back the camera and I'll be dangling from the rafters. All you'll see is my fucking feet.
What if it's made by Red Storm?
They're using Red Storm as a chop.
Then you'd be doing a little dance.
I would love to see a full-on old-school Red Storm tax sim. That would be fantastic, but I don't think it's on the cards.
All right. Well, it's time to move on. Marcus, you're from the UK.
I am. I will give it away.
Rockstar is from the UK.
They are indeed one of the best video game publisher, houses, designer, makers in the world.
The BBC is from the UK.
And that's because they're called the British Broadcasting Corporation.
That's right. And so, all 3 of those are tangled up right now in quite a kerfuffle.
They are indeed.
Which is, the BBC is doing a docudrama on the history of Grand Theft Auto, basically. And they're going to concentrate on the whole dust-up with Jack Thompson. And everyone's excited about this. Like, Harry Potter's like the lead actor. I think he's playing one of the Housers.
He's playing Sam Hauser, yeah.
In the movie.
Bill Pullman is playing Jack Thompson.
And apparently Rockstar isn't too happy about this. And they are suing the BBC for starting this project without their okay, without signing the proper paperwork. One, do they have a leg to stand on with this case? Which I would say they probably don't.
Yeah, I think because it's predominantly the information available is all within the public domain.
Right.
And let's face it, unauthorized biographies happen all the time. This is a docudrama, so therefore it's covered by the fact they can somewhat fictionalize it up. It is, I think, focusing predominantly on the GTA 4 Jack Thompson section. It's being directed by one of the guys who did Black Mirror, which is a phenomenal series. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix here in the US. Obviously, Channel 4, I think, did it in the UK. Charlie Brooker created that. So, I mean, I'm interested. It'll be nice. I mean,
one of the actors from Twilight, isn't it? Robert Pattinson or whatever?
Robert Pattinson's in it as well?
I believe so.
Okay. So there you go. That's the Twilight panty brigade, all nice and happy. Yeah. Harry Potter and Harry Potter and the guy from Twilight will be wrestling shirtless. Look, I got no problem with it. I mean, it's lovely in a way that we've got to the stage that video games have crossed into the main mindset, and somebody is going to do and it's the BBC. We're not talking about a fucking Bravo TLC reality show knockoff.
They're like the CNN of the UK. But they actually also
Don't fucking insult the BBC like that.
Oh, really?
No, CNN's
as an outsider, that's how I look at it.
No, the BBC does some really good drama. I mean, you look at Broadchurch. I mean, obviously, they do some good pop culture stuff, such as my favorite Doctor Who. But yes, the BBC will treat. I don't think it's going to be a sensational thing. They don't really do a huge amount of sensational stuff with regards to their particular drama, the dramas. So it's not going to be like, the TNT movie of the week, or something, on the Sci-Fi Channel. Like Sharknado 6 or whatever. So look, I don't think Rockstar will have a leg to stand on. I think they could probably prohibit some things from being put in there that are actually trademarked, but then some things are going to fall into fair use. Some things are public domain. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll actually be fun because it'll show how fucking wackadoo Jack Thompson is.
I think, though, also the Rockstar guys are a little wackadoo. And I think that might be one of the things that they're concerned about here is because, look, the history of Grand Theft Auto and Rockstar is not altogether savory. I mean, there has been a lot of...
They so taking this video now.
Yeah, they're going to come after us. Yeah. But that's what Rockstar does. I mean, they are pretty litigious. But...
but this video...
What?
It's not going to be on YouTube.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they can't do anything. They can't touch us now. But here's the other thing. So... I think they're blocking it because the Housers don't want their dirty laundry aired out to the... Nobody does. Look, but these guys are very protective. I mean, more than the average person.
They are notoriously private. I mean, you look, and let's face it, in this
they do like
world,
one interview every 4 years with Time, and that's who the only people will talk. They won't talk to lowly gaming journalists. Oh, no.
Look, I don't blame them. I wouldn't talk to lowly gaming journalists. I don't like talking to gaming journalists. I mean, why am I even here? Look, I don't blame them. They're protective. Obviously, look... Can you imagine?
Isn't it ironic, though? Because they try to act like they're like these maverick game developers, and they're on the fringe, and they're doing things their own way. But then they're trying to stifle free speech and things like I don't know, man. It just rubs me the wrong way.
They do the thing their own way. It's a proven, successful, way of doing things. They're going to make some enemies. I don't think Rockstar will come out of this the actual movie looking bad. Because let's face it, Jack Thompson.
Everybody hates him. So.
He's just fucking crazy.
And he's a jerk. Yeah.
He's Jack Thompson. I mean, I was like, oh my god, you've gone full Jack Thompson. It's actually
he's like a personality type.
Yeah. So I don't think they'll come out with it, but I mean, they want to protect their privacy. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm looking forward to it. I think they should just. They don't want to officially cooperate because, again, they're Rockstar. They're rock and roll. They do things differently. They don't want to, cooperate with the BBC or endorse something like that. And it gets a lot more buzz for them. And
it's getting a lot more buzz for the docudrama. They should know better than anybody else.
It was always going to get buzz especially with the Harry Potter. On it, and
you weren't even aware of it, though.
I wasn't.
I
would have been aware of it when it came out.
Right. But what I'm saying is, you weren't aware of it. And the reason you were made aware of it was because they sued, and we talked about it on the show.
The reason I was aware about it was because you told me that it's on the run through for today.
Right, but what I'm saying is you wouldn't have known unless they sued. Because they sued, we're now talking about it on GameFace.
We would have talked about it eventually because it would have, they would have started the PR. They're in production right now. So after the movie's done, and once there's a date, that's when people will start talking about it because that's the way TV and movies generally tend to work, as opposed to 45 years out like we do in games. I'm ambivalent. I'm looking forward to watching it. I want to see fucking Daniel Radcliffe kick Bill Pullman's ass. I mean, perhaps they'll really drama it up, and it'll basically.
Oh, I'm sure they will. And I'm sure that's another thing Rockstar is concerned about is that the history already isn't that great with what happened with DMA Design moving to Rockstar North. There was some shady stuff that happened there with some of their employees.
I want to see how they do hot coffee.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if they're going to touch on that whole transition in the docudrama. But
like I said, I think it focuses in particular GTA and Thompson's battle to try and get it, the murder simulator, as he liked to call it, because he's a fucking Fruit Loop. Yes. I kind of like it.
We'll both watch.
We will.
That's for sure.
I'll watch it on BBC America.
Yeah. We'll see if it actually comes out. Because, I mean, Rockstar and Take-Two, they actually have the wherewithal to block something like this.
No, they don't.
You don't think they can stop it?
No, they don't.
I don't know.
They have no wherewithal, no matter how much money they got to fucking throw at it. The BBC's got more money, and the BBC has got more outlets, and it'll, like I said, the BBC, they do some stupid shit, and they're not exactly saints themselves, but I guarantee you everything the BBC has is locked down within fair use and artistic,
But here's the thing, Marcus, it won't matter, because I know firsthand that what Rockstar does when it wants to get its way is it takes its money away.
Who's it going to take its money away from?
From the BBC.
BBC is publicly funded. They don't carry ads.
They carry ads here.
That's BBC America, which is an offset of BBC Worldwide, and they don't advertise video games because I've never seen a fucking Rockstar. I've never seen GTA.
I've seen a game advertisement during Top Gear.
Honestly, the BBC makes so much money out of Top Gear and out of Broadchurch and out of
Top
Doctor
Gear's
Who.
gone.
Well, there'll be a new version of Top Gear. The BBC doesn't have anything to fucking worry about with regards to this. There's no way it can get pulled. But the other thing is that Rockstar, I mean, aren't they officially based out of the US now? They're no longer a UK company. I don't know if they're registered at the company's house, but I think they're, in the UK, but I think they're registered here now as a corporation. So they have there's nothing they can do to stop the BBC from broadcasting it in the UK and in any other subsidiary that doesn't want to support them. So, and look, they shouldn't. They should just let it out there and revel in it. Throw a fucking viewing party to houses, get shit-faced and say, we fucked Jack Thompson, we sent him to the wacky bin.
Just make sure you invite us.
Invite him.
That would be one hell of a... You wouldn't go to a Rockstar party?
I don't go out anymore.
Oh, you would go to a Rockstar party.
No,
I have a feeling I could drag your ass out to that.
I'd watch the live stream.
Oh, the irony. So, Marcus, here's something that's going to get you real pissed off.
Why? What?
Well, let's see. Today, they announced the brand new FIFA 16, and they announced it with a trailer for the brand new feature in the game, which is women's teams. And
which is not pissing me off.
No, that's not what pissed you off. It didn't piss me off either. But it did piss off a whole lot of other people.
Oh, yes. Yes, we shall call them the Dickless Patrol.
We saw the worst of the internet today.
Well, again,
the worst of gamers today.
Well, yeah, it's the usual bunch of, a couple of hundred tosspots who... let's first of all tackle FIFA 16.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting week for FIFA. Obviously, 14 members of the FIFA Executive Council, a couple of vice presidents, all got fucking arrested in Switzerland. The FBI are after them. So, hey, big ups to America for finally contributing to soccer. Well done. It took you a while since you won the World Cup in like 18 or the Olympic gold in 1896 or whatever it was. But
look, you can slag the USA all you want, but look, the United States are the ones who actually took care of this bullshit that's been going on with FIFA forever.
This is for the last 20 odd years. Yeah. Look, big ups to the
At least we
FBI.
had the balls to frickin' do it.
Well, I mean, I can understand why, because the US, is not a major player on the world stage with regards to, their team is really good, but they're not good.
Elite, yeah.
The MLS is a good league or a nice retirement home for former Premier League stars. But again, it's not the English Premier League, or it's not La Liga, or it's not the Spanish First Division. So these other federations, the European ones with the big money, they had so much to lose when they tackled FIFA. So they were cowardly.
Well, I think also, I don't know if you remember,
they were cowardly bitches about it, and so were their governments. So big ups to America for tackling those fuckers. But anyway, FIFA 17, you've hit it here.
16.
No, I'm talking about 17. I'm talking about next year. It's going to have a bribery mode. You basically
it should have been in there already.
You can bribe people to lose games and
I think, honestly,
award World Cups.
That might be why the U.S. went after them. I don't want to talk about sports for too long here, but I think honestly the U.S.
Of course it is, because
went after them because in the last World Cup the U.S. kind of got jobbed a little bit in those games. Like some of the referees in those games were shady.
It's not because of that. It's actually because of the last two the next two World Cups. The bids,
one's in Russia.
Well, the bids for the next two World Cups, the front runners were Great Britain for the next one, and then the one after that would have been the US. The next one is going to Russia with their spectacular human rights record.
Yeah, because the Olympics worked real well there.
Yeah, the Sochi Olympics, a bunch of people died doing that, and then Qatar, or Qatar, whichever way you pronounce it. Which means that people will be playing in like 100-degree heat, which is great for a team sport, isn't it? Where you exert yourself, and so we'll wait for players to die.
Wasn't there also like all kinds of political upheaval going on there?
Huge human rights abuses.
Yeah.
Slave workers, basically migrants coming in, and passports being taken away. I mean, let's face it. Qatar is a nasty ass fucking country full of cunts. But anyway, so that's the reason the FBI went after them, because the US didn't, were hot favorites, and then it went to this fucking, nothing country in the middle of nowhere. Sorry, the genuinely
talk
decent
about a red
people
flag.
Yeah, I'm talking about the ruling classes here. I'm not talking about the genuinely decent, poor, downtrodden people. But anyway, so that's why the US went after them. I'm glad they did. The Swiss have joined in as well, which is another huge rarity. I mean, this is the Swiss who, specialize in being so neutral. I mean, they sit on the fence so often, their assholes are full of splinters. But even they've joined in to get rid of FIFA corruption, because it does spoil what is, the world's most popular sport. John Oliver did a really good segment on this that's on the HBO website. You should definitely look it up. It's fantastic. But let's get back to FIFA 16. So, first of all, big ups to EA. And it's not often you'll hear me say that, because adding the female teams, great idea, because so many kids, especially here in America, you see so many teams, girls and boys playing together.
I think soccer may be probably the most popular sport for girls to play in America.
Well, it probably is. I mean, it's the most popular sport in the world for all kids, to be honest with you.
Right, but here, it's different.
Yeah, but I mean, the US is, US and Japan, I think, have always been the two big countries who've duked it out over the years for the World Cup, which is happening next month. So it doesn't take anything away from the game. It's not an addition that means they took a bunch of features out. It's not.
That's what a lot of people were saying today. Their argument was FIFA 15 is still broken and doesn't play the way we'd like. It still doesn't play the way you advertised it. So why are you going to go putting female teams in the game when you still can't get last year's game right? And they feel like them working on something like this, which, as both of us know, is not a lot of work.
Well, it's a fair outlook. It's a fair amount of work on the data end with regards to creating the character, making sure the character stats are accurate and getting all the right names in, the leagues in, and stuff like that. And then, yes, the players, it is a whole different set of mocap. Because let's face it, the female players move in a different way, and you have
to scan all their faces in.
Yeah, so there is a fair amount of work, but it's not something that's going to cost anybody extra.
Right.
They're not making FIFA 16, 15, $599.99 because you have to play the girly mode, and you don't have to play. One of the female teams. You don't have to. You can still go and play your particular team. So why people, and when Peter Moore tweeted this out this morning, the reaction from a very narrow-minded, small, dickless percentage of the gaming population was pretty abhorrent. It's like, well, I'm not buying it now because it's got fucking girls in it. I guarantee you, every one of the girls who are in FIFA 16
beat your ass,
kick the shit out of you, literally, figuratively, on a football pitch in a fucking darkened alley, and
right.
3 ways from Sunday. I mean, these are amazing sports people.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll be watching the World Cup next month.
I would buy a pay-per-view to watch video game schlubs versus the U.S. women's national team in MMA fights.
I'd pay to watch them. Watch the England. Look, the England ladies soccer team is actually kind of better than the English male soccer team right now. But no, I got no problems with it. Nobody else should, because it's not hurting you. It's not having something rammed down your throat. It's not a feature you have to play to unlock the male version of the game. It's there. It's an extra. It caters to an audience that is growing, and there is nothing wrong with that. Now let's look at separately at FIFA 15, which, FIFA 15 and 14, not really great games. They have been buggy, there have been issues. If FIFA 16 is a crap game, it's not because they put the women's league in.
Yeah, you can't blame it on
that. It's because
it's
they have
a crap game.
issues with the engine. They've overcomplicated it. It's really moved away from what it used to be, and and not in a good way.
I would still rather play like World Cup '98 on the N64. Like, they nailed that game. Like,
dude,
it was perfect.
International Superstar Soccer on the Super NES.
It was good on the N64 as well. ISS 64.
Super NES version was far and away the best.
How do they keep screwing up soccer?
Well, they've overcomplicated it. It's the same, but it's what they do every year with all the sports games. Because you remember, NHL 94, still the best fucking NHL game ever.
For sure, yeah.
They've basically gone from people being able to jump in and, just take control and fiddle around with the teams and the formations if you want to, but then just be able to whack the ball or the puck or whatever, about, to, well, now you have to have a fucking degree in sports science to understand every aspect. Yeah. And they've not been able to find a way to appeal to both.
They've always tried to make those easy modes or whatever, but like they're never
really as good, because let's face it, you play the easy mode, you end up winning 99-0. Then you step up to medium mode and shit happens, you end up losing 99-0. There's no happy medium. So
we're in agreement on this one.
Yeah, if you're furious at EA for FIFA 16 because of FIFA 15, I can understand your concerns with regards to the game. If you're furious because they've put women characters in the game, you need to go and get some Vaseline, slather your head and neck with it, and pull your head out of your fucking ass. Okay? Bye. Next.
I think you said it all.
Next, yes. Twitch.
Yeah.
Twitch.
Which we're on right now.
The wonderful Twitch, which is a great website. Fantastic. They've banned adults-only games.
Yeah.
They, even though they have filters that say you can't be under 18 if you want to watch this particular this show, apparently.
Yeah.
But or you can't watch a certain stream or blah 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 blah. They've banned adults-only games, and there's not that many AO games.
There are.
Anyway.
Like I actually went and looked for a list of AO games, and I think there were like 25 ever.
Yeah, I mean, and they've done this before. Hatred hits on Monday. The Hatred, the game we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Because
they did this just for Hatred.
Yeah.
It comes out in like 2 days, and they announced this 2 days before the game comes out. Here's the thing. We're about to show footage of Hatred on this show. What you going to do about it, Twitch? What are they going to do about it? They can't stop it. They don't have fingerprinting like they have on YouTube, where they can tell if you're like streaming or playing a certain thing. They're going to have to have a human being or human beings surfing around on Twitch to find this stuff. There's no way to stop it.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to stop streams of Hatred. It's impossible.
What's the difference between streaming this particular game, where you're driving around in a truck blowing shit up, and streaming Grand Theft Auto 5?
I know.
Or Call of Duty?
I mean, honestly, to be completely honest with you, the uproar over this game, Hatred, is complete bullcrap.
Well, we did talk about this.
We did, yeah.
And, I think we're in agreement that,
Twitch is just jumping on the stupid bandwagon. They saw GOG was like, we're not going to sell that game. And they're like, well, then we got to look like the upstanding citizens of the internet, and we're going to ban that game too. But we can't just ban that game because we'll look like jerks, so we're going to ban all AO games because that's the only one.
You do realize that means now Leisure Suit Larry, the reboot from the mid-2000s, the AO version of that
cannot stream it.
You can never stream it, which sucks because I was going to do that this weekend.
Manhunt 2.
Swear to God. Postal? Yeah.
We were just showing Manhunt 2. You can't stream that now, apparently.
Yeah. And look, it's Twitch's playground. It's their rules.
Yeah, they can do what they want.
They can do what they want.
That doesn't mean we have to agree with it.
Yeah, but we don't have to agree with it. And look, let's face it, it's censorship. And if you're going to have the fucking freedom of speech to have people be able to, comment and post shit online and say nasty ass racist whatever stuff anyway, getting rid of a game like this, or banning of such a small section of AO games, is just petty.
I mean, honestly, somebody watching a big stream with like 20 or 30,000 people, in the chat in that stream is way worse than anything that ever happens in Hatred.
Yeah.
Just the stuff that the people say in the chats, like our chat seems to be pretty good, like the people are really civil, but if you go into one of these big streams where there's like 20,000 people watching the stream, it is just awful.
Oh, it's the Wild fucking West, because, again, you can sign up to Twitch for free. You don't need credit card verification. And look, I mean, this is the problem we have in America in particular with the whole free speech thing, where, free speech, because everybody wants free speech, everybody expects free speech, but it's our version of free speech, my version, your version, and everybody wants the free speech, especially when they can hide behind an anonymous name.
Right.
And companies like Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, etc., should be looking at ways to curb the anonymous free speech, because the anonymous free speech makes people big. They're not like me and Shane, because me and Shane, we get on a podcast, we put our names out here and on video on Twitter and everything, and this is who we are, and this is what a lot of you are like. You put the names out there and you say your stuff, and you realize you're going to get some blowback. I've had blowback over the years. Blowback. But that's because I put myself out there and I stand behind my my opinions, and I'm here. A lot of people on Twitch and Twitter and stuff like that, they want to hide. They want to have, it's not just I want a cool username, it's I want to be anonymous so I can say dick things.
I think a lot of people online are like that in general.
And that's what Twitch needs to be looking at. And never mind censoring this particular video game. Because if the video game's shit, let people see it shit. If, we've like I said, we've talked about it.
I still don't understand why that game is AO. I still cannot understand why Hatred is AO.
It looks like a bad Diablo clone.
I mean, it's just a twin-stick shooter with, like, hyper-violence. You know how many games have been hyper-violent? It's it's so weird that this game has been the one that everyone's freaking out over.
Yeah. A couple of people got very uppity about it. And look,
Steam started it. Steam started it because at first Steam banned the game.
The people behind
they changed their mind.
The people behind it, a bit special.
Yeah.
Hello, lights are on, nobody home. But they want to make their game and put it out. I mean,
I've seen worse stuff in other games that weren't AO.
If you're going to censor this shit, be fucking consistent and just censor anything that is remotely like that. And I guarantee you won't be able to show half the fucking video games that are released nowadays.
Maybe Twitch just opened the door for us to start our own AO-only streaming service.
If we go AO only, I'm taking my pants off.
You get to the end of that first day of E3 press conferences, we may be sitting there with our pants off. After 8 hours of talking about games.
Dude, if I have to get the fuck out of bed, stroll all the way across town to do the fucking Microsoft press conference, 1, I'm going to be not wearing pants. 2, I'm going to be drunk. And 3, I'm going to be live tweeting.
But Marcus, don't you think that they could just set up age brackets on Twitch?
They already have age brackets.
Yeah, I mean we age
just
protect.
Fucking enforce them. This is going the extra mile. We're so paranoid about protecting people from the wrong shit, and that's the thing. It's not all right for this because this game lets you shoot little babies or whatever. But it's all right for somebody to come on a chat stream and call someone the F-bomb and the N-word or whatever. That's not acceptable. Yeah. That's the shit we should be shutting down.
That's way worse than watching somebody shoot somebody.
Yeah.
That's in my opinion anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. So that wraps up the Big Six. We do have a trailer of the week for you.
Is it Arkham City Asylum 6?
It's not.
Is it Beyond Good and Evil 4?
It's not.
Is this something I'm going to have any interest in?
And it's not Mad Max either.
Awesome film, by the way.
Yeah. I don't know if the game's going to hold up to the film.
The film was fucking fantastic.
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but hopefully I will.
You've got to go see the film.
I have no time to do anything.
Make time, go see the film in a big theater before it disappears. It's fucking awesome.
I've heard. I haven't slept more than 5 hours in like 4 weeks, so any time I have, it's very precious. So going to see a movie,
about your sexual practices. Thank you very much.
All right, so for the deep dive this week, we're actually going to talk about Sony's E3 lineup, and we've dedicated more time to do that than we did for Ubisoft. And the trailer of the week is actually one of the games that Sony will be pimping at E3, and it's one of the bigger games in their lineup. Let it roll, Matt.
Hey, Josh, no hot water's kind of a major oversight, don't you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you just gotta fire up the boiler. It's in the basement.
Wow. What was that? Wait, okay, so you hear that, right? Don't move.
What?
Something behind you.
What the hell have you done to them?
So the game's kind of cool.
I'm frightened.
But
hold me.
But is it the kind of game that you want to carry your platform?
I don't don't know what the game's about based on that trailer. It's a bunch of fucking scary CGI type stuff. I mean, they could have
That's
been...
what it's about.
They could have been
You know what it's about.
advertising Evil Dead 6 or something. I mean, where's the game footage?
That was all in-engine stuff. That wasn't CG.
And so was Killzone.
No, that was all. That didn't even look like CG. You need new glasses, bro.
It looks. These aren't new glasses, I'll have you know.
You need a new script then.
Look, people basically agree with me in the chat room because I'm always right. But yes, I mean, it's... What has Sony got? No Man's Sky, which apparently, according to a certain gentleman at GameSpot, the very cool Danny O'Dwyer is actually a top lad. He says No Man's Sky isn't coming this year.
I wouldn't be shocked at all. And when I chose this game, I think I even mentioned during our fantasy draft that I'm like, I probably shouldn't pick this game because it's so ambitious and there's probably no chance of it ever coming out this year.
I think it'll come out when they launch Morpheus. That'll be their launch game.
That makes perfect sense. But they need this game, man. I mean, they need this game bad for Q4 because you've already lost. Here's the other thing too. It's like, do you want to butt that up against Uncharted? Because they announced Uncharted 4 this week is coming by the end of March, so it's coming the first couple months of the year, without a doubt. I don't know that you want No Man's Sky. And look, they're completely different games. But it doesn't matter. PlayStation 4 fans are freaking out over both games, and they're probably going to buy both of them. So
one is going to sell the Oculus, the Morpheus. The other one's not.
Yeah. I don't know.
So this will be the one that sells the Morpheus. So they need to have that ready to go when Morpheus.
I would say 80% of the people who play No Man's Sky are not going to play it with Morpheus. I actually, it may even be higher than that. 85% of the people who play No Man's Sky. Morpheus is going to be, even if they manage to get it to $200, which I would be surprised if they do, really surprised, it's going to take a while to adopt it. Because people are going to look at it and be like, okay, I got this console for $3. You want me to pay for this headset that's almost as much as my console? Like,
I think that, look, honestly...
It's also not launching at the holidays, where people typically are a little more giving with their money, and you can for me, when I was a kid or I was younger, Christmas was the one time I could kind of ask for something kind of nice.
So they launched the tech in March. By the time Christmas comes around, it'll probably be a little more refined. It'll have more games for it for next year.
But I'm just saying, No Man's Sky, I mean...
This is the game that will sell the Morpheus. It really will. And I think that if they bring the Morpheus in at under $200, which would be fucking phenomenal, that actually it would be a loss leader for them. But I think that would be the smart thing to do because it will get the console into homes, or the headset into homes. But
the one thing you got to think about, okay, so they have the headset they got to worry about, which is Morpheus. But what they really got to worry about is selling machines and software, because that's really, you said it's a loss leader, Morpheus. Mm-hmm. They're going to make their money off of their machines and off their software. So they have to sell software in Q4 when everybody's buying software.
Well, yeah, I mean... And look, we just have a list of games that we know are going to be talked about, but there's going to be...
I'm sure they'll announce some stuff at the show.
And look, they might pull the stunt that's become very, very popular with the publishers now, where it's like, and we're going to announce this for the first time. Have a look at this video, and it's going to be in stores in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Dare I say The Last Guardian? Should I have not even uttered those words? Should I just left that out of the show?
I think you're just being cruel to all those Last Guardian fans. Look, it's the game that will not die.
Yeah. I mean, they still talk about it like it's still in development.
And look,
I mean, they need The Last Guardian.
Why do they need The Last Guardian?
The perfect time for them to show it.
The game's not going to fucking sell 2 million units.
I don't know.
I know.
I think
it's too fucking niche.
I don't think it is niche.
It is niche. It's got this mythos about it that it's the savior of everything and has been delayed. And look, it'll have the same sales figures as Bloodborne.
Here's what I think. I think if they had released The Last Guardian like a typical game, you announce it and then maybe, worst case scenario, a year later you release it, I agree with you 1,000%. It would have been a niche game. But because it has become this like urban legend.
It's only an urban legend within a subset of fucking gamers, which includes the game's media. It's this fucking subset. I have no interest in The Last Guardian.
Really?
And there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of gamers who couldn't give two flying fucks about The Last Guardian
all you
just
have to
because
have is, like,
the
3
NeoGAF
million
Sony Defense Force are spooging over it, that it must be something that is announced. Do I hope it's announced? Yes. Why? So that the people who want it can have it and go play it. Good luck to them. I don't begrudge them that. But telling me that The Last Guardian is going to be the savior of Sony when...
I'm not saying savior. I'm saying helping their Q4, which is really bereft of anything significant right now.
Well, last year's Q4 was bereft.
Uh,
The Sony's last Q4?
Yeah, I guess it was pretty light.
And,
Yeah.
the one before where they launched the PS4? Pretty fucking bereft. And they launched the console. Sony, especially if the PS3 is anything to go by, we won't get a bunch of really kick-ass solid first-party games till 2017. And then it's going to be fucking awesome.
Here's the thing,
It's going to
though.
be awesome.
Here's the other element of it, though, Marcus. The tide is starting to turn a little bit. Like, you saw the Xbox One beat the PlayStation 4 last month, and there was no excuse this time. Like, the prior month that the Xbox won, the excuse was, they just undercut the price. They dropped the price out of nowhere, and there was no excuse. Sony had Bloodborne, had just come out, and Microsoft still won last month. So... regardless of how we look at it.
Bloodborne is a niche game.
It is.
Regardless of what the games media will tell you, Bloodborne's a fucking niche game.
It is, and it was. And the sales have played that out. It completely disappeared off the sales charts. And we talked about this on the show. It actually was only available for 1 week that first month. And it only appeared on the top 10 sales that 1 month. So everybody bought it that first 7 days, and then it just disappeared off the map. But here's the thing. It's like Sony are starting to feel the heat now. We say whatever, but they are very serious. They've got to be looking at it being like, okay, where is Microsoft getting momentum? And Microsoft's getting momentum because it has more exclusive games.
Microsoft had a killer E3 last year where they talked about a lot of the stuff that was coming.
People are starting to forget about the whole launch debacle now.
But Microsoft still, they won last month, but they're still heavily behind.
They're not that far behind.
It's not, it may not be a 2-to-1 ratio anymore, but they're still a fair way behind.
They've got a nice lead, Sony, for sure.
Sony have a nice lead. Sony does, and look, let's not beat around the bush. I'm not a member of the Sony Defense Force or the Xbox Defense Force or anything like that. Sony in the PS4 have the better machine.
For sure, yeah.
Microsoft know that. Their machine can only do a certain amount of things that the Sony machine does very, very well.
But wait for Windows 10. It's going to change everything.
Yeah. So Microsoft are front-loading, much like they did with the Xbox 360. The Xbox 360 started off phenomenally strong.
Yeah.
And had that midsection where all the games that were coming out were really, not all the games, but there was so many good hits coming over and over and over. While Sony with the PS3 had a lousy launch and really sort of struggled.
Had to work for it, yeah.
Even though they had the better machine. And I think it's replicating itself again. I think Sony likes to take 2 steps forward, then jump half a mile back. And then they will gradually catch up. But once Uncharted 4 comes out, and we look at maybe a Last of Us sequel or whatever else, and we're gonna get from the guys at that particular awesome studio.
They're not gonna show a Last of Us sequel. Naughty Dog's trying to get Uncharted finished right now.
Well, again, Sony, big company, big resources. It's not all being done out of
Naughty Dog won't let somebody else touch that franchise. I guarantee.
Well, I'm just saying that their bits and bobs get done by different divisions and then
assets and things like that.
But Sony will probably have something up their sleeve. I don't know what, but yes, do they have a worrying-looking fourth quarter this year?
Oh,
definitely.
Hell yeah.
Has Sony had a worrying-looking year on the software front? Definitely. Have they had a worrying-looking last 2 years? Definitely. So what's changed? What's different? The system will continue to sell. They will still.
Will it though?
It will continue to sell because it's the
look. We've got God of War 3 coming up, the remaster of that. Let's actually just run through this list and start talking about some of these other games. There's Hellblade, made by Ninja Theory, the guys who made DMC Devil May Cry, and made some great games for the PlayStation 3 as well. Mm-hmm. Ratchet & Clank's been delayed. It'll probably be shown at E3, I think, Ratchet & Clank. It's supposed to come out mid-next year with the movie, to coincide with the movie. I think we'll see that at E3. I think they'll show at least like a demo or a trailer or something, because right now they haven't even released a screenshot for Ratchet and Clank. Nothing. There's this little like piece of art that everyone's using to promote the game right now. So I think we'll see that. The big game for PlayStation is Street Fighter V. That's really the big exclusive. I still can't believe they locked down Street Fighter V exclusively. That's a big coup. I mean, I know you don't care about fighting games, but that's a big deal.
It's a big deal to fighting fans.
There's a lot of them.
There's more. Again, as gamers grow and as the numbers grow and the demographics grow and change, what there was a lot of in the grand scheme don't become the system sellers or the people who put the money down for the units that it used to be.
Well, let's just look at Street Fighter 4. I mean, it sold amazingly well. It continued to sell amazingly well. They just released another version of it 2 days ago.
You'll get 20,000
They're still making
versions
money off of Street Fighter 4.
Because people, the hardcore fans will continue
and
to buy it.
And Street Fighter 5 is going to be exactly the same way. It's huge, dude. I don't know how you can say Street Fighter 5 being exclusive isn't a big deal.
Because I live outside the bubble.
It's not about a bubble. This game, Street Fighter 4, sold like crazy.
Define crazy. What's the numbers?
I don't even know what the hard numbers are.
So there you go. No hard numbers. And look, we will have. I don't have the hard numbers either. So we'll have this discussion once we get those numbers. But I feel that again, we all, people live within the fucking bubble. They all think that Street Fighter is going to be the game changer, just like Bloodborne was going to be the game changer, just like so and so. And you end up drinking the fucking Kool-Aid over and over. Street Fighter 5 is not going to be the biggest selling game of the year. Now, if Sony come out...
It's only on one platform.
Let me tell you something. If Sony come out of their fucking press conference the day after Bethesda and say, by the way, Fallout 5 is going to be exclusive on PS4 first, or they will have X, Y, and Z, that is a bigger deal globally than Street Fighter.
I don't know about that. I think that's a close call. 8 million copies of Street Fighter 4 have been sold.
Is that just Street Fighter 4? Is that Street Fighter, every version of Street Fighter 4? Because we're talking about Capcom here that are 60...
It's 8 million copies, dude. That's a lot.
There's 36,000 versions of fucking Street Fighter. It's the same 5 people buying it over and over.
8 million, come on. You have to relent at this point and admit that that's way more than you thought.
If that was 8 million copies of one particular game, I would say no problem at all. But you know how many versions
you
of
never
Street Fighter
dreamed
are.
it sold 8 million copies, admit it. You thought it sold like 2 million.
The original Street Fighter 4, what did it sell? And Matt's
it
looking it up because he's
probably
awesome.
a few million, like right out of the gate.
Well, there you go, because everything else is a different version. It's not the same fucking product.
I mean,
it's like saying, all
you're
right, well,
scoffing at 3 million in sales. That's a lot.
Not when you look at the amount of... It used to be a lot.
It still is
a lot. It was a lot 10 years ago. It was a lot 5 years ago. But when you look at how many consoles and how many gamers we have out there now, it becomes less and less and less.
It's still a lot.
I'm seeing 3.3 million for vanilla Street Fighter 4.
3.3 for vanilla Street Fighter 4. And what did Bloodborne do?
It's not even at 1 million. Well, it's like at 1 million something worldwide.
So when did Street Fighter 4 come out?
Oh gosh,
2008.
2008.
Yeah, I think that's
so
right.
3.3 million in 8 years for vanilla version. 3.3 million in 8 years. It's made the money. I've got no problem with that. I'm just saying that we're very guilty of building shit up to certain levels.
I don't think this is a case where I agree with you. That happens all the time. I don't think
Batman
this is a
Arkham
case
Knight on PS4 will sell more than Street Fighter.
That's a good question, actually. I think it'll be close.
I think Batman Arkham Knight on PS4 will sell more.
We should bet something on that. I'd be willing to take Street Fighter in that throwdown.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on because we're taking too much time on Street Fighter. There's another game, Rime, which is like Sony's Wind Waker, basically. It looks just like Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, except it's Sony's property.
Oh, I was hoping it was Beats to the Rhyme. That wonderful Run DMC song.
And I know you probably won't care about a game like this, but, it's one of those filler games. It's one of those games that could turn out to be really good, that could, prop things up, give them 1 million sales, and more of a cumulative effect type game.
It could be another
or it could
Journey.
be a smash hit. You never
could
know.
be a Journey. Journey was a fun, fantastic game.
Yeah.
I mean,
look, you're not going to fill your coffers with Journey sales.
Well, but again, I mean, you say that it didn't, but I would be interested to see what the lifetime sales were on Journey because it was a $15
I'm sure it did
game.
great. But I mean, you're talking about like hundreds of millions of dollars, which is what you really need to move the needle if you're a video game platform holder
But yeah,
Journey is not going to do it.
This could be interesting.
But you're right. That's a good way to describe this game. Is it is like a journey. It's one of those games. It's like a feather in the cap for your platform.
An unproven. It's an unknown quantity. And look, let's face it. That's what Sony does do better than Microsoft.
Oh, for sure.
They do have the new IPs, and they're not afraid to put new IPs out there because
they nurture the indies way better.
Well, you look at this list. Uncharted 4.
That's Shane Bettenhausen. That's one of the things he does. He's a curator for Sony.
Well, Uncharted 4, Ratchet & Clank, Street Fighter, and possibly The Last Guardian of this list that we've got in front of us. Those are the only sequels, franchises, etc., etc. The rest of them...
They're all new.
Everybody's
gone to the Rapture. I don't think that game's going to set the world on fire, but again, it kind of fills a little hole, and it gives people something to play while they're waiting for the next big thing. Sony Bend has been working on a PS4 game for a while. That will, I think, undoubtedly be shown at E3, finally, at least in trailer form. They've been working on it for a long time. It's been known for a long time. And the studio hasn't been doing anything else. So I think we'll see a trailer for their game. We don't have any idea what it is at this point. Let It Die. It's a Japanese game coming for PlayStation 4. That's kind of niche. It's like a horror, like a violent horror game.
I mean,
but there's just no...
Well, let's look at it. Let's ask the question. What are the system sellers for Sony? Is it Killzone? Is it
It
Resistance?
really isn't. That's the thing with Sony.
I mean,
they don't have one.
Is
It's
it
like they have a
Uncharted?
bunch of stuff that sells really well, but nothing that just goes berserk.
They don't have a Master Chief. They don't have a Mario, but they seem to do phenomenally well. So maybe it is that we're talking about all this stuff there and saying, well, there's nothing that's really going to bust out. Maybe it doesn't need to. Maybe because Sony's doing all this cool different stuff.
It's the accumulative effect of all of it
that will help keep things going. And then they still have the first party. They have games coming from third party that do look phenomenal this year, and that they do get a cut from every time, and does sell more machines. Because let's face it, the best looking version of Batman Arkham Knight. Is going to be on PS4, which is the version I pre-ordered. I mean, that's why I've got it. Because I've actually always played the Batman games on the Sony platforms because I think they look the best and they play the best.
Well, last gen I bought everything on Xbox 360. This gen I buy everything on PS4.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. And look, I'm not belittling Street Fighter. I'm not belittling The Last Guardian. I hope those games come out, and I hope they're awesome for the fans who've supported them all throughout the years. And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is that we build, we within the media build these into these legendary games, these must-have games, these savior games, and they don't sell the 10 million units that everybody expects, and everybody is fucking shocked. And it's like, stop with the Kool-Aid. Look at the bigger perspective. Look at the bigger world order. Look at games that are, be a bit more sensible. Is a game with Batman going to get more market penetration and more sales figures for people? You walk up to somebody in the street and say, you know about the Batman game? They're probably more likely to than perhaps a Street Fighter game.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, no, did you know there's a new Street Fighter game coming out? Do you know there's a new Batman game coming out? Well, I've heard of Batman. I mean, and like I said, I'm not belittling Street Fighter.
I would definitely make that bet, but I don't think we have any way, because the way MPD does stuff, I don't think we'd be able to tell.
Plus, life to date. I mean, maybe in 10 years' time, we'll sit down. When Street Fighter 6 is coming out, and then we'll I remember having that fucking argument with you, and I won because your Street Fighter only sold 4 million on the PlayStation 4. God, if I'm here in 10 years, please shoot me.
So one prediction for Sony at E3 from you.
Status quo. I think they'll basically, I don't think they'll suck. I think they'll have a couple of interesting products for next year. I think we'll see No Man's Sky slip to to maybe next year with the Morpheus, and they will have some very interesting, more eclectic games that will appeal to the hardcore fan base, and then they will have the usual suspects on third party that will keep them ticking over. Like I said, I don't expect them to hit their stride again, and really sort of like deliver. Because, I mean, no offense to, again, Killzone and Resistance fans, they weren't the cutting edge of shooters.
Yeah.
So let's see where we are next year. But I think Sony will come out and it will be that was cool. People will come out of Microsoft, and we'll talk about Microsoft, I'm guessing, next week. Yeah. And people will say, wow, we're seeing this, and this year. But the longer term stuff, because I guarantee you it'll all be sequels. and it will, there'll be a couple of really cool things in there, but it will be the sequels that we will say is like, oh my god, there's a new Gears of War. Yes, there's a new Halo. I hope they get the multiplayer working. Yes, there's a new Crackdown. Yes, there's a new Fable. But
where's that new IP, brah?
Well, Sony will have. And look, Microsoft have the new IP coming. They're being very smart with the investments. But Sony will just have the, they'll have the cool one. We'll all come out and we'll light a cigarette, a French cigarette, and we'll just go. C'est bon.
All right, Marcus, do you want to check for some questions from people in chat while I close out the show?
All right, give me your questions. I will say somebody actually did tweet out to us, asked about Need for Speed. EA's the Need for Speed Twitter doodly confirmed today that there's going to be an always-on connection for Need for Speed that allows friends to join in and shape the narrative.
Terrible idea.
Yeah, well...
Terrible idea. I mean, why didn't they learn the lesson that Microsoft learned for everyone? Microsoft took it on the chin for everybody else. Like, they learned that lesson. Like, they showed everybody, do not ever create a product that has to be online all the time. People hate it. They're going to reject it. And then EA, in one ear, out the other.
Are we going to E3?
Yeah, of course.
He will if he registers us. Still unregistered.
Yeah, of course we're going to E3. I'm actually think I'm only going to go to the actual show one day. I think I'm going to go Thursday when everybody else is hungover and don't go to the show, so I can just slide right in and see everything in like one day instead of fighting crowds.
I think I'm going to go to Michael Pachter's party.
Yeah, I go to that every year. That's always fun.
Yeah, I need some Pachter love. Let me see. What do you think about the Arkham Asylum and City getting HD versions? Talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Look it up in the archives while they're still online. Will we go to TwitchCon? No. I'm going to answer that one for both of us. What are you wearing right? Nolan is asking, what am I wearing right now? How the fuck should I know?
It's not like he dresses himself.
Yeah. All right. So let me see.
That's it.
Come on. Less than 2 years into this generation, and Microsoft is already releasing a second Xbox One controller redesign.
Oh, yeah. They did announce that today, actually. It kind of sucks. The big redesign, actually, it's not even that big of a redesign. It just has a typical 3.5 millimeter headphone jack in the bottom of it. So you don't have to have like their proprietary stuff. You can just plug in any headset you got.
If people buy an Xbox One moving forward, will it replace?
I'm assuming they'll pack it in with the console. At least with new stuff that if it's old stock, that'll be tricky though, because if you end up buying an old Xbox One, you get the old controller, that would suck.
Well, let me just say this to everybody who is obviously talking about, about this thing with the change. Do you own an iPhone? If you own an iPhone, if you bought an iPhone 4, 5, or 6, and you buy them when they come out, you don't get a complaint.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, we're talking about $60.
It's not giving anybody a competitive advantage either. That's like the big question.
It sucks, unfortunately. Microsoft think they're Apple and think they can do it. I'd much rather them have done this from the beginning so there's no proprietary garbage. I'm very happy with the old style headphone jacks. Thank you very much, the proper ones. So, yes. Let me see. Gareth Bale plays where? Real Madrid. Stupid question. Who will win E3? Me. I will win E3, Shane.
Sip is going to win E3.
We are not going to be saying who won E3 because E3 is not it's not the Olympics, it's not the World Cup, it's not Deathmatch. It's a fucking convention where we look at video games. We will say, oh, somebody had a good E3. Or I will say, I don't know about him. I'm not talking about him.
I will probably say who I thought won E3. And I will probably, you'll forget this, and I'll eventually goad you into doing it as well.
I will say if I thought somebody performed well or not so well. Yeah. But I'm over this fucking winning E3. Because let's face it, Microsoft win E3. No, Sony win E3. Nintendo win E3. I mean, it always cracks me up. Nintendo wins E3 every year. And look how they're fucking managing with the games. With no games.
Well, they gave up. They're just like, we're not even going anymore. Iwata's not going to go. They're not doing a press conference again. They're doing their little Nintendo Direct pre-recorded thing, which is kind of cheating if you ask me, because if you look at it, Sony and Microsoft, their execs have to go on stage. They have to nail their presentations. All these elements have to come together. It all has to be harmonious. They have to read their teleprompter right. And then Nintendo's like, well, we're just going to set up shop in this office for 3 days, and I'll do this line like 50 times until I get it exactly right.
Yes,
and we'll pre-record all our demos, so there's no chance of any glitches happening. There's no chance of like a controller shutting up. I mean, look, it's smart. as a business, but you look at Microsoft and Sony, they're kind of putting their necks out there when they do live press conferences, and I feel like Nintendo's kind of like been like, we don't want to do that anymore.
Well, so Nintendo doesn't have to. People, look, let's face it.
Maybe it does. It's doing terrible.
Reggie could take a crap in a bag, right into putting a Mario sticker on one side, a Zelda sticker on the other, and people would still fucking buy it.
It's not working. They're not buying it. The Wii U's doing terrible.
Yes, this is a Del Taco cup, by the way. It's my Diet Coke. It's empty. It's disgusting. Let me see. Will Annoyed Gamer be part of Sifted premium content?
Only you can answer that.
Annoyed Gamer's dead. Annoyed Gamer is never coming back in the way it used to be. It had its run on GT, and it was fine, and it was great.
I have to tell you that is probably one of the top 5 most asked questions about Sifted is, are you going to do Annoyed Gamer?
It's very flattering that people still want that. I just feel that Annoyed Gamer was great for the 18 months it was on the air, the almost 2 years. It hit at the right time, but everybody's fucking annoyed right now. Everybody's annoyed.
But you're the master.
Honestly, look, there are
you are the Jedi, and they're the Padawan.
No, there are people out. If you want me to get, for ranty stuff, that's why you come to GameFace. I very much appreciate the support, and look, I've still got the moniker Annoyed Gamer because it's been a part of my career, and I've had that moniker for fucking 8-9 years now.
I can't believe that, by the way.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But yeah, I just feel that, especially given how things have changed over the last 18 months within the games industry and with how people respond to stuff, I have a responsibility not only to myself but also to Shane and Sifted and everybody who works on Sifted and my family and my wife and our business and everything else to scale back on the really snarky stuff and the stuff where I do take somebody to task over stuff, because look, I'd end up also repeating myself week after week. Here on Sifted, it's the two of us, we bounce off each other, and it's great on GameFace. Annoyed Gamer, me in front of a camera.
The problem, I think, is we ran into this because, I would work with you on the show, and it got really hard to find topics sometimes.
It would.
And sometimes you have to do the show, and so you stretch sometimes. You end up putting an episode out that you're not 100% happy with because you really had no choice, right?
And I did some interesting stuff. I mean, the depression episode was actually something that was still very dear to my heart. But I just don't think there was a space for it, and I also need to realize that the goalposts have shifted with regards to the level of shit that people will perpetrate to get back to somebody, get back or strike back against somebody, who they think has gone online and said something offensive. Everything gets misconstrued nowadays. So I'd much rather sit here and be in the GameFace chair with Shane and have him kind of balance me. Not working.
I try to keep him honest.
But yeah, and we have a variety of topics. I'm not discounting doing any other content with Sifted because we may do some really cool stuff. You never know. But I appreciate you asking. But this is the rants that you will get, and obviously on my
you definitely got some fans out there still who want to see you do your.
No, I got nothing but love for everybody, but I couldn't do Annoyed Gamer for it ever anyway. Look, with the beard, I'm getting too nice and fluffy now. Although somebody did say I look like George R.R. Martin after a diet. Thank you, Mr. Kranzel.
All right, well, that's going to wrap up episode 12 of GameFace, the first episode that is only going on Sifted.net. So if you're watching this right now, maybe you didn't get to catch the whole thing, you cannot watch this archive on YouTube. It is only going on Sifted. So get your ass over there and register. Sifted is still free for another 10 days, 9 days, 10 days, something like that, before it goes to a full subscription service. So you still got plenty of time to check it out. And I would encourage you to do that because I think once you use it, even for a day, you will totally get it. So I want to thank, again, everybody who's already joined up with Sifted. There's a ton of people who have already subscribed, which I'm floored by it because the site is still free for another week and a half, and there are just scores and scores of people who have subscribed. And the crazy part that I found is that literally it's been like 99% premium and like 2% basic. Everybody is subscribing for premium for the content that you and I are creating and all the other great stuff that we're going to do on Sifted. So thank you so much. And if you haven't registered yet, get on over there. I know you're going to love it. Every single person, I have actually not had a single person say that they did not like the site. Some people will complain and say, I'm not paying for something I can get free, which is total crap. They can't get what Sifted does for free. But
Needs more VR.
yeah, apparently.
Running joke.
Yeah.
Everything
Running
needs
joke.
more VR now.
Yeah, I'm just going to turn Sifted into just VRbonkers.com or something.
All right, go to bed, you crazy Euros. Thank you for staying up to watch us.
Anyone in
Big
Europe,
ups to Europe.
Yeah,
Euros,
anyone in
thank
Europe
you.
who stayed up to watch this, we really appreciate it. We appreciate everybody who watches
Yeah.
the show and supports us in any way, shape, or form. So, everybody have a really awesome weekend, and we'll see you on Sifted.net. We are up and out.